Hello everyone, Chuck Northside Guy. Today presenting more low number commons from the 1933 Goudey set. 5 cards to share with you. First up is Frank Hogan, better known as Shanty Hogan, who was a very large player, not just for his era, but just large in general. He was played at 6'1", 240 pounds, which, as we've noted in other videos, is very large in an era where most players were 5'10", 5'11", and certainly under 200 pounds. Shanty was a colorful guy. He had an off-season vaudeville act with Andy Cohen, a player we'll see in another video who's number 52 card. And in addition to that, Andy Cohen recalled Hogan as someone who could have been one of the best catchers ever, but he ate himself out of the big leagues. He showed up for spring training camp at 265 one year and would wear a rubber suit and take hot showers in an effort to lose weight. And then he'd eat more to regain his strength and weight. Giants manager John McGraw tried to control Hogan's weight by watching his meal reimbursements. But Hogan developed a system where he would write down foods that McGraw would want him to eat, but which waitresses actually knew to replace with the foods that Hogan wanted to eat. So he'd write down spinach, but that meant potatoes. So, colorful guy. Hogan hit 300 on a number of occasions. And in an era where we're talking about today, was there a juiced ball, for example, in the 2019 season? Well, there was talk in the 1930 season that there was a lively ball, and it was wound with special Australian wool, and it resulted, get this, in a league batting average that was above 300 for the only time in baseball history. So certainly what is old is new, or what's new is old, and there's nothing new under the sun, those kind of things. So first up here was Frank Hogan. Next up, again, a common. We don't know much about this guy, George Connolly, all better known as Sarge, here in a PSA 5. And we got another one, another common player, Bud Clancy. Boy, this was a hard card for me to find in a PSA 5. In his final season, Bud Clancy became the first baseman to record no putouts in a 9-inning game. Kind of a fun little fact there. Next up is, in a PSA 6, Ralph Kress, again with another colorful nickname known as Red. Very popular guy, infielder, batted .305 in 1929, .313 in 1930, and .311 in 1931. Beautiful card. Love the green background there. Let's take a look at the back. In this case of a PSA 6. Very clean, limited signs of aging or spotting. Something you see in a number of these Goudey cards, and particularly in a lower grade. Finally, we have another very good catcher from this era, Bob O'Farrell. And I think this is just a classic look for a 1933 Goudey, a classic look for a vintage card. When we say vintage, I immediately think of this card, believe it or not. Just a classic. So Bob was considered one of the greatest defensive catchers of his generation. And he played a number of years with the Cubs, and would led the league as one of the best defensive catchers in games caught, putouts, assists, base runners caught stealing, and caught stealing percentage. Now, in 1924, O'Farrell suffered a fractured skull when a foul ball broke his catcher's mask. And tough guy that he was, he asked a clubhouse attendant to bring him a newer mask, not wanting to delay the game, but decided to play with the older mask when he was struck in the head. He missed most of the rest of the season and ultimately lost his job because that created an opening for Gabby Hartnett to become the Cubs catcher. And we featured Gabby Hartnett in another video in this series. 1926, Bob Farrell was National League MVP. At this point, he was playing with the Cardinals, and he batted .293, had a career-high 30 doubles and 68 ribbies. In the 1926 World Series against the Yankees, O'Farrell hit .301, but is best remembered for throwing out Babe Ruth, who was trying to steal second for the last out of the 7-game series as the Cards claimed their first ever World Championship. Interesting story here of a guy that I hadn't really known much about. Finally, O'Farrell caught Carl Hubbell's no-hitter in 1929, and he was famous for catching 6 pitchers who would eventually be inducted into the Hall of Fame. After retirement, he ran a bowling alley here in Illinois, in Waukegan, which was popular and open for over 30 years. Bob O'Farrell, everyone. Thank you for watching. More to come from this wonderful 1933 Goudey series. Take care.